Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And today, I want to talk about getting through the holidays, which I know is such a difficult topic for so many people. I've actually had a lot of people reach out to me and say, can you talk about getting through the holidays when you're grieving? Can you talk about getting through the holidays as a person in recovery, as a person in early recovery? What to do? Do you have any skills? Do you have any tools? And I don't know that I have really necessarily any tools or skills. I have little things that I've learned through the years. So I'll probably talk about this more as the holidays approach, but being that we're the week of Thanksgiving, I did want to talk about this because I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are either alone for Thanksgiving and the rest of the holiday season, or that they are going to be around family. And both can be difficult, I think, depending on your mindset about that. And I think also, I was sitting down and I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to say in this video before I got into it. One of the things I will say is, I think so much of it has to do with perception, right? Like, I think it's in how we look at it. And, in our attitudes towards it, and in looking at Christmas. And if you're somebody that, is going to be alone at Christmas, or, that you're not going to have many people. I can remember there have been many Christmases where it was just me and my mom. And, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin would go to Florida, and it was just me and my mom. And my mom would get, very down about it. And I can remember one year, I said to my mom, I said, why don't we start a new tradition? And she said, well, what new tradition do you want to start? And we loved the Thin Man series movies with Nick and Nora Charles and their dog Asta. I don't know if you guys know those old movies from back in the day. But they took place on Christmas and New Year's, and so I said, I think in one of them they eat Chinese food for Christmas or something. So I said, why don't we go and we get Chinese food on Christmas Eve? Because we used to always have beef Wellington and a very dressy Christmas Eve with my aunt and uncle. And I said, why don't we get dressed up and we'll, or whatever, I think we were dressed nice, and get Chinese food and watch a couple of these Nick and Nora Charles movies, And then we'll have our sweet roll that we always have on Christmas and open presents, and we'll do new traditions. And we can take a walk, because we had started walking, when I was in high school. We would walk at Christmas time and stuff. And so she was like, yeah, I think that would be fun. And so, I remember she picked, the first year that we did it, she picked up, because my aunt and uncle would go to Florida every other year. She picked up the Chinese food, and when I showed up here to her condo, she was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. She was like, she went to this place up the street, it was called Chinese Ruby, and it was this Chinese restaurant we went to for years and years and years. I remember they had this huge fish tank when you would walk in. She goes, I thought it would be dead. She was like, but there was so many people there. And so we got all of our stuff, our, Moo Gai Pan and our egg rolls, and we sat down and we got all comfy cozy, and we made a fire in the fireplace, and it was so fun. And we took a walk and out in the snow, and it was a different Christmas, but it was a nice Christmas. It was our Christmas. And I look back now, and those are things that are still super memorable to me, When my mom passed away, that first Christmas without her was my first Christmas with Alex's family. And it was very difficult because my aunt and uncle, we didn't really, and my cousin, we didn't really do anything for New Year or for Christmas Eve that year. We would go out to dinner early, at 4 or 5, and then they would go and do their private family Christmas, and then I would see them again, Alex and I would go over there again on Christmas Day. So I was with Alex's family for Christmas Eve. Well, in Venezuela, my husband's Venezuelan, they typically do their whole Christmas on Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve to them, Christmas is very celebratory. It's a Catholic holiday, and so the music is very happy, it's very joyous. It's not like Silent Night and snow and all that, it's celebratory. And so I was over there, and I kind of, felt out of sorts. I knew some of the family, but not all of the family. And so it felt different to me. And I can remember we stayed super, super late, and it was a different kind of Christmas. And through the years, I have to say, especially, you know, like since the nephews have come in and then, you know, they're little and, you know, we're watching, and I brought certain things to it too, you know, like following Santa Claus on the Nordic Tracker and things like that for the nephews. And then like at midnight, Santa comes and he rings the doorbell as he flies over, and like, you know, it's real fun. And then they run outside and Santa's dropped all the presents in the yard, and it's really cool. And so there's things that they do differently. You know, there's like a big dinner that we have at like 9 o'clock at night, and there's certain things that they have, and I get to experience all of that. And so it's all perspective for me. It's all different. It's all new, you know? And I'm like real emotional today. I don't know why. I think like my mom, like I sometimes think that my mom gave me Alex and his family as a gift. Like, I think like she would be so happy that I had this huge family, you know, to be part of and to experience this different Christmas. My mom would have absolutely loved it. I mean, they dance, they sing, and everything at Christmas. You know, it's really fun, and they play games, and it's not a dull moment, you know? So anyway, I think a lot of it is perspective. And even if you're spending Christmas by yourself, I think to say, okay, I'm going to binge watch a bunch of these Christmas movies, or, you know, I'm going to order my favorite food, or I'm going to go to the grocery store and get a bunch of my favorite snacks, you know? I will tell you one thing, and I know that a lot of people out there that are very religious aren't going to want to hear this. So my sobriety birthday is December 17th of 1994. So the whole kind of Christmas season is very spiritual to me, but in more of like a sober way, if that makes sense. I was in treatment over Christmas, and I didn't want anybody to come visit me. A lot of people, my dad was not going to come visit me, and I wasn't talking to my mom at the time. And she was actively moving out of our house into this condo, and she was heavily drinking. And so like all my other friends and stuff that reached out, I said, I don't want you to come visit. And actually 2 of my friends did come visit Christmas Day, but only for a very brief period of time. But other than that, like I had no family. And I can remember on Christmas Day in treatment, like a lot of the other guys that I was in treatment with, like they'd have me sit at their like family's table, and like, you know, their families brought them food and stuff, and they were very nice and generous. But really what it taught me, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but what it taught me was that Christmas is just another day, just like any other day. It's really what you do with it and what you apply to it, you know? And I think sometimes when we're alone, or when we have to be with family that we don't want to be with, we get so bitter and angry kind of about that we put a negative connotation on it, when you shouldn't be missing out on the joy of Christmas any more than anybody else, or Thanksgiving, if you can't be with your family, you know, because of travel or sickness or work or money or whatever, right? Or just because you don't have any. Do something that will make you happy that day, you know? My uncle loved to go to movies by himself, like on Christmas and Thanksgiving, you know? Like when Thanksgiving dinner was done, he was already picking out his movie in the paper, you know? And if anybody wanted to go, they could go. And if they didn't, he was going to go by himself, and many years he did, you know? I think, so that's what I would say about like spending Christmas and Thanksgiving alone, or having things be different. Because I know a lot of people are like, this is the first Christmas that I'm not going to be with my family. And I think that's so hard, you know? But today, I mean, when I'm with my in-laws, like, I mean, there's always somebody FaceTiming on the phone. Always, you know, like at Christmas. There's always somebody sitting there on the phone, you know, like as if they're just sitting there. So with FaceTime and things like that, and, you know, I don't know, to me, a little bit, like I'm glad that I have family to spend with, but I also think that there's something very, like if I had to spend Christmas alone, I think there's something very spiritual and very renewing about just being at peace with yourself and doing something that feels renewing of that, you know, and not looking at it in a negative stance, but looking at it in a positive stance. You know, one of the things I say in recovery, it's like, I can remember like, somebody, I can't remember who it was, but a friend of mine years and years and years ago was talking about going on a trip, and they were going somewhere like fantastic, like some island in the Caribbean, you know, and they were like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do, and people are going to be drinking Coronas on the beach and drinks on the beach, and I said, only alcoholics and addicts are people that can take something fantastic and turn it into something absolutely miserable, right? Like, we can do that. And so just to kind of swing this into that, as far as being a person in recovery and having to go to, like, being around people in the holidays. Well, first of all, I think being alone as a person in recovery during the holidays, you know, if you're somebody that goes to 12-step meetings, what do you call them? Why can't I think of what they're called? Clubhouses have 24-hour meetings, and they have people there 24 hours a day, okay? Because you're not the only person that's going to be alone on a holiday, right? And I know that in my own city, and so if that's true in Indianapolis, I know that that's true across the country and probably across the world, that there are places that there will be meetings going 24 hours a day. I know that there's on Thanksgiving Day gratitude meetings. I know that there's dinner being served and things like that. So just, you know, look up your 12-step program online in your local area, or call, you know, the local number, and you can find out all of that information. You know, if you have to go to your meeting and ask somebody, you know, if you're going to a holiday event with family where there's going to be a lot of drinking, like that was always a lot of my concern. You know, my family's drinkers, like my in-laws and you know, like I come from a family of drinkers. And so that was always my concern, is like being around, you know, a lot of people that drank. And, it's not so difficult really today, I mean, especially like in long-term sobriety. But, you know, in early sobriety, I think it was hard. The one thing I had that like really saved my butt was that I had my mom. And my mom was also sober. And so, you know, we shared this common language. And so like we would go there, and then if it got too tough or too drunk, we just would leave. You know, and I think that's one thing that I learned early on in sobriety, is that if I'm ever in a situation that I don't want to be in anymore, whether that's a bar, a wedding, a funeral, a holiday, anywhere, any situation that I don't feel comfortable in, I can leave at any time, you know? And back in the day, you know, it was more difficult. But today with Ubers and, you know, whatever, you can leave whenever you want to leave. Just say, I'm out, right? Like, I can't handle this anymore. And you don't have to be rude about it. You can just say, hey, you guys, I'm really tired. It's time to go, you know? You don't have to make some huge display out of it, right? Now, if you do need to make some huge display out of it because Aunt Susie is, you know, like pouring wine and on the carpet, and she's screaming at you and reminding you of everything that you did when you were out there drunk, just, you know, you can say, hey, you guys, listen, like, this is not healthy for me. You can stand up for yourself. You didn't get sober to be a doormat, all right? And you don't have to be angry about it. And you can say, you guys, this is not healthy for me, so I think I'm going to leave, okay? And just head out. Walk down the street and call an Uber down the street if you have to just, like, get away from it, you know? But I think, like, the other lesson with, like, my mom's situation is something that I learned early on is always take another sober person with you if you want, you know? Listen, if you're sober, trust me, you know people that don't have plans for holidays. I know lots of people, you know, that I've been like, hey, do you want to come to my house or to my cousin's house for Thanksgiving? Like, you know, if you don't have plans or whatever, like, there's a lot of people that don't have plans. Bring somebody with you, you know, and tell your family, hey, this is healthy for my sobriety. I'm bringing my friend with me. And then you have another person there with you, you know. Always keep somebody on speed dial. Tell somebody before you go. Tell your sponsor. Tell a friend in recovery. Say, this is going to be really, really hard for me, and I just need you to know to be on standby for the 3 hours that I'm there, you know? Not every family member that you're going to have at your family function is going to be a torn down drunk, hopefully. If that is the case and you're in early sobriety, that's probably not the place for you to go. And maybe this might be one holiday that you have to bow out of, you know? And that's okay. You might have to miss a few holidays to stay sober. You know, I had to miss a lot of things to stay sober, and I'm okay with that. Because I have today, because I missed those things back then. But, you know, if let's say you're going to family Thanksgiving, there's going to be 10 people there. What's the one cousin, you know, Cousin Judy? Call Cousin Judy up and say, I'm scared about this, Judy. You know, like, people are going to be drinking, you know. Aunt Sally, she always pours her wine on the carpet, and she's going to start yelling at everybody and everything like that. Boo Radley is standing right down here. He's being so sweet. He says, I don't ever have that problem, Dad. What? Okay. So anyway, you know, call Judy up and say, Judy, I need you to be my friend through this, my sober friend or whatever, you know. And And 9 times out of 10, they can be that for you, you know? I think when it comes to grief, I think it's a different thing. I tell this story a lot. It was like, so my mom's car, her rundown Saturn that she had when she passed away, I sold to, you know how you like sell a car for $1 or something like that you have to do with like, you know, an estate. So I sold her car to my cousin's stepson for $1. And so he was driving, he was like in high school, I think at the time. So he was, what are you doing, boobs? You getting your hole dug back there, buddy? So he was driving my mom's car. Well, that was like the first time that like I had really like put it together, and Alex and I, like, that my mom wasn't there, you know, and I really wasn't even thinking about it. And we were going over to my cousin's house. We'd gone to Alex's aunt's house first, like earlier in the day for Thanksgiving, and then we were going to Caroline, my cousin's house, later in the day. And so we pulled up to Caroline's, and my mom's car was out in front. Now this is the first Thanksgiving that I had spent without her, and I saw my mom's car, and I mean, I can't snap. I lost it immediately. I mean, I was just bawling my eyes out. I was like, she should be here. She should be here. And I was so upset, and I just like lost it completely, you know? And it was so sad and just like inconsolable. And then I went inside and I ended up having a great time, you know? But I did tell people, I said, I'm really sad. Like, I miss my mom. I think the thing for me is like, especially with my mom and my aunt who loved holidays so much, like they really loved holidays. Christmas, Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving. My mother loved Thanksgiving because she loved the food. Thanksgiving, Easter, all of it. I mean, my mother and my aunt loved holidays. They loved to set a beautiful table, flower arrangements, the whole 9 yards. They loved it, right? So, you know, you've heard my jokes about the dinner rolls on my vlogs, you know that, right? Like, it had to be certain dinner rolls, it had to be all of this. And so, knowing that, like, I know that they would want Caroline and I to continue in that tradition and to enjoy our holidays and to love our holidays and things like that. Whether that means that we spend it going to Hawaii and being on a beach on Christmas or having a sit-down dinner, you know? They would just want us to enjoy it together, you know? And so we will do that as long as we can, you know? And there's been years that Caroline has gone out of town or that, you know, whatever, and we haven't been able to be together, and that's okay, because there's going to be other holidays, you know? But I think that grieving is hard, you know, because I think that those holidays, I don't know why it is, but like on holidays that you remember the people that have passed so much stronger than you do like on just some random Tuesday, you know? It's always been those random Tuesdays that's been the hardest for me, but it's been the holidays that bring it up. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, like what I'm trying to say. Like, it's when like I'm on a random Tuesday and I'm just listening to a song that comes on the radio and I'm thinking, oh my God, my mom and I used to sing this song together, right? But it's those holidays that I think of, like all of the different holidays of the past with my mom, you know, or friends or my aunt and uncle that are no longer there, and I think, well, they're not here anymore, you know? And so I think it brings that all back up for us, and we remember that. I think it's okay to remember that. I think that's the other thing, is that we have this kind of like conceptualization that we can't remember things and get emotional on holidays. It's okay to get emotional, right? Do I think it's okay to get 2 bottles of wine in and get real emotional and be sobbing on the couch and nobody can console you and you're no fun at Christmas? No, that's probably not a great choice, right? But is it okay to be sitting down? My cousin and I, you know, we'll sit there and we'll shed a few tears and talk about the past, and then we move through it, you know, and we continue to enjoy our day and play games and have dinner, and we enjoy our holidays, you know. And partly it's because our family would want us to. I know that they would, and I know that they would, you know. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys out a little bit. Let me know what you guys are doing for the holidays in the comment section below. Boo Radley, what are you doing for the holiday? He said me, probably taking a nap. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.